Mom, I need you to put a hidden camera in the living room. Don't ask why. Just do it and leave the apartment before Caleb gets home. That was my daughter-in-law's voice on the phone, one day before I was supposed to leave for my vacation. Her voice was trembling. I could hear her breathing hard, like she was hiding somewhere to make this call. I'm Diana Purcell, 68 years old. I spent 30 years paying off my apartment in Philadelphia. I raised my son Caleb alone after my husband passed. I trusted him with everything, including my power of attorney. What I saw on that hidden camera footage changed everything I thought I knew about my own child. He was planning to sell my home, take my savings, leave me with nothing, and he almost got away with it. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This story might save someone you love. But let me start from the beginning, because I need you to understand how I got here. How a woman who spent her whole life taking care of others ended up nearly losing everything she worked for. My husband Harold passed away 5 years ago, pancreatic cancer. It took him 8 months, and when he was gone, I found myself alone in this apartment for the first time in 43 years of marriage. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen with a window that looks out over Chestnut Street. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. We paid off the mortgage after 30 years of scrimping and saving, of Harold working double shifts at the plant and me teaching 3rd grade until my feet ached. After the funeral, Caleb sat me down at my own kitchen table. He was so gentle, so concerned. He held my hand and said, "Mom, you've been through so much. Let me help you with the finances. You shouldn't have to worry about bills and paperwork right now." He slid a document across the table. "Power of attorney," it said at the top. "This just means I can help pay your bills, handle your banking if you're ever sick," he explained. "It's what Dad would have wanted, someone to look after you." I remember thinking, he's my son. Who else would I trust if not him? So I signed it. I didn't even read the whole thing. I just signed my name on the dotted line and I felt relieved, like a weight had been lifted. I put that document in the drawer of Harold's old desk, and I never looked at it again. That was my first mistake. Life went on. I adjusted to being a widow, to eating dinner alone, to sleeping in a bed that felt too big. I kept busy. I volunteered at the church, joined a book club, babysat for my neighbor's grandchildren. I told myself I was fine, and for a while, I was. Then about 6 months ago, things started to feel off. Caleb began visiting more often, not just on Sundays for dinner, but during the week, sometimes unannounced. He'd let himself in with his spare key, and I'd find him in the living room, looking around like he was measuring the walls. "Just checking on you, Mom," he'd say, with that easy smile of his. He started asking questions about the apartment. Had I ever thought about the property value? Did I know what units in my building were selling for? Was I keeping up with maintenance? I thought he was being thoughtful, concerned about his aging mother. His wife Meredith came with him sometimes, but lately she'd been distant. She used to hug me at the door, ask about my book club, stay for coffee. Now she barely looked at me. She'd sit on the couch with her hands folded, staring at the floor while Caleb talked. The last time I saw her before the phone call, she held my hand at the door for a long moment. Her eyes were wet. "Take care of yourself, Mom," she whispered. "Promise me." I thought she was stressed about work. She's an accountant, always busy during tax season. Looking back, the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. I should tell you about my son, the son I thought I knew. Caleb is 42 years old. He works in software sales. At least, that's what he told me. Good job, good salary, nice car. He always dressed well, always picked up the check at restaurants, always brought me flowers on Mother's Day. I used to brag about him to my friends at church. "My Caleb, he's doing so well. He takes such good care of me." After Harold died, Caleb stepped up. He helped me with the funeral arrangements, handled the paperwork, made sure I wasn't drowning in grief and bureaucracy at the same time. I was so grateful, so proud of the man I'd raised. But there were small things I chose to ignore. He'd borrow money sometimes. "Just a few hundred, Mom. I'll pay you back next week." He always did pay me back, so I didn't think much of it. But the amounts got larger. 300 became 500. 500 became 1,000. "Cash flow issue," he'd explain. "Client payments are delayed. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. but I trusted him. Then, about a month before everything fell apart, Caleb asked me something that made me pause. "Mom, have you ever thought about selling the apartment? Moving into one of those nice assisted living places? You're getting older, and this place is a lot to maintain." I laughed it off. "I'm 68, not 98. I can manage just fine." He didn't push, he just smiled and changed the subject. But that question stayed with me, like a splinter under my skin that I couldn't quite reach. Now I need to tell you about Meredith, because without her, I don't know where I'd be right now. Meredith married Caleb 12 years ago. She's 39, sharp as a tack, works as a senior accountant at a firm downtown. When she first joined our family, I was nervous. You know how it is with daughters-in-law. But Meredith won me over within a month. She remembered how I liked my coffee. She asked about my students, my garden, my aching knees. She treated me like a person, not just her husband's mother. Over the years, we grew close. Closer, sometimes, than I was with Caleb. We'd go shopping together, have lunch, share secrets. When she had Jenna, my granddaughter, she asked me to be in the delivery room. But in the months before the phone call, Meredith changed. She stopped coming to Sunday dinners. When she did come, she was quiet, withdrawn. She'd excuse herself to the bathroom and come back with red-rimmed eyes. "Work stress," Caleb would say, waving his hand dismissively. But I knew Meredith. I'd known her for 12 years. This wasn't work stress. The last time I saw her in person, she hugged me at the door. Not a quick hug, a long one, tight, like she was trying to memorize the feeling. "I love you, Mom," she said into my shoulder. "No matter what happens, I want you to know that." She held my hand like she was saying goodbye. I didn't understand why. Now I do. The night before my vacation, I was packing my suitcase. My sister Patty and I had planned a 2-week trip to Florida. Sun, sand, early bird specials. Everything 2 retired ladies could want. I was folding my swimsuit when my phone rang. 9 o'clock at night. The screen said Meredith. "Hello? Mom?" Her voice was barely a whisper. I could hear her breathing hard, fast, like she'd been running or crying. "Mom, listen to me. I don't have much time." "Meredith? What's wrong? Are you okay?" "I'm fine. She paused. I heard a door close. "I'm in the bathroom. Caleb doesn't know I'm calling." "Mom, I need you to listen to me very carefully." My heart started pounding. "You're scaring me. I know. I'm sorry. But you need to hear this." Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was shaking. "Tomorrow morning, before you leave for Florida, I need you to buy a hidden camera. Put it in your living room. Point it at the door and the couch. Then leave. Don't tell anyone. Especially not Caleb." "A camera? Meredith, what are you talking about?" "I can't explain right now. Please, Mom, you have to trust me. Your home is in danger. Caleb is—" She made a sound like a sob. "He's not who you think he is. Meredith, I'm risking everything to tell you this. My marriage, everything. Please, just trust me this once." I heard a voice in the background. Caleb's voice. "Meredith, who are you talking to?" "I have to go," she whispered. "Please, Mom, please do what I asked." The line went dead. I called back immediately. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. I stood there in my bedroom, holding my phone, my half-packed suitcase open on the bed, and I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. What did she mean? Caleb wasn't who I thought he was. What did she mean my home was in danger? I didn't sleep that night. I paced my apartment, back and forth, wearing a path in the carpet. I made tea and let it go cold. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. My mind kept spinning, trying to make sense of Meredith's words. Maybe she was being paranoid. Maybe she and Caleb had a fight, and she was trying to cause trouble. Couples fight. People say things they don't mean. But that didn't sound like Meredith. In 12 years, I'd never known her to be dramatic or vindictive. She was steady, practical. If anything, she was too calm, too measured. And her voice on the phone, that wasn't the voice of someone making up stories. That was fear, real fear. I walked to the hallway and looked at the photo of Caleb on the wall, his high school graduation. He was grinning, holding his diploma, so young and full of promise. I remembered how proud I was that day, How I cried and told everyone who would listen that my boy was going to do great things. My boy. My only child. Could he really be planning something against me? I thought about calling him, confronting him directly. But something stopped me, some instinct I couldn't name. At 2 a.m, I made a decision. If Meredith was wrong, I would lose nothing but the cost of a cheap camera. I'd feel foolish, but I'd survive. But if she was right, a mother's instinct told me to protect my son. But something deeper, something I couldn't name, told me to protect myself. I was at the electronics store when it opened at 8 a.m. The young man behind the counter looked at me with barely concealed surprise. I'm sure I wasn't his typical customer. A gray-haired woman in her late 60s, asking about hidden cameras. "It's for security," I said, though he hadn't asked. "I want to keep an eye on my apartment while I'm traveling." He showed me a small device disguised as a desk clock. Black, unassuming, the kind of thing you'd never look twice at. It recorded in HD, stored footage in the cloud, and sent notifications to your phone when it detected movement. "Easy to set up," he said. "Just download the app and follow the instructions." My hands shook as I paid. $63, the price of peace of mind, or the beginning of heartbreak. Back at my apartment, I spent an hour figuring out the app. Technology has never been my strong suit, but desperation is a powerful teacher. I connected the camera to my Wi-Fi, tested the angle, watched myself walk across the living room on my phone screen. I placed the camera on the bookshelf, nestled between a photo of Harold and a ceramic vase Jenna made me in middle school. It faced the front door, the couch, the dining table. Anyone who came in would be recorded. I stood in the middle of my living room, the room where I'd raised my son, celebrated holidays, mourned my husband, and I felt like a stranger in my own home. Then I grabbed my suitcase, locked the door, and drove to my sister's house. Whatever was going to happen, I would see it, even if it destroyed me. Patty lives in a townhouse in Bryn Mawr, about 40 minutes from my apartment. She's 3 years younger than me, widowed twice, and tougher than anyone I know. "You're early," she said when she opened the door. "I thought we weren't leaving until tomorrow." "I wanted to get a head start on relaxing," I lied. She looked at me with those sharp eyes of hers, the same eyes our mother had, the ones that could see through any excuse, but she didn't push. She just made me coffee and let me sit in her sunny kitchen, staring out the window at nothing. I checked my phone every 5 minutes. The camera app was silent. No motion detected. Maybe Meredith was wrong. Maybe I'd overreacted. Maybe I'd go back to my apartment in 2 weeks and laugh at myself for being so paranoid. The hours crawled by. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I tried to read a magazine. I tried to watch TV. I couldn't focus on anything. At 11:15, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. My heart stopped. I fumbled with the phone, nearly dropping it. My fingers were shaking so badly I could barely tap the app icon. The live stream loaded. My living room appeared on the screen. My couch, my coffee table, my front door. And then the door opened. Caleb walked in. He wasn't alone. There was a man with him, mid-40s, wearing a blazer, carrying a clipboard. They were looking around my apartment like they were appraising it. Because they were. Maybe I was being ridiculous. Maybe Meredith was wrong. Then my phone buzzed, and my whole world tilted. I watched my son walk through my home like he owned it. He gestured toward the kitchen. "Recently updated appliances," he was saying. "New refrigerator last year." The man with the clipboard, the realtor I realize now, nodded and made notes. "Good natural light. These pre-war buildings have great bones." 2 bedrooms, Caleb continued. 1.5 baths. The master has original hardwood floors. They moved through my living room, and I watched on my phone screen as they examined my furniture, my photos, my life. The realtor ran his hand along the windowsill. Caleb opened the coat closet and showed him the storage space. My storage space. My closet. My home. "What's the timeline?" the realtor asked. "Fast," Caleb said. "My mother is away for 2 weeks. We need to move before she gets back." "And you have authority to sell?" Caleb smiled. That smile I knew so well, the smile I'd trusted my whole life. "Full power of attorney," he said. She signed everything over to me after my father died. She's 68, lives alone, doesn't really understand finances anymore. This is for her own good, honestly. She can't maintain a place like this." The realtor nodded like this was perfectly reasonable. "I can list it at $485, maybe get offers within 2 weeks. Market's hot right now." "Perfect," my son said. "Let's make it happen." I sat in my sister's kitchen, watching this conversation on a 3-inch screen, and I felt something inside me crack. Not break, not yet, but crack, like ice on a pond in early spring. My son was selling my home. He was going to take everything I had worked for, everything Harold and I had built together, and sell it out from under me while I was on vacation. And he was smiling while he did it. I watched my son sell my home like I was already dead, like I was nothing. I don't remember putting the phone down. I don't remember walking to the bathroom. I just remember locking the door and sliding down against it until I was sitting on the cold tile floor, my knees pulled up to my chest like a child. The tears came then, silent at first, then shaking, gasping sobs that I muffled with my hand so Patty wouldn't hear. How could he do this? I raised him. I raised him alone after Harold's first heart attack left him too weak to work. I took extra tutoring jobs, skipped lunches, wore the same coat for 15 years so Caleb could have new sneakers, baseball equipment, a used car for his 16th birthday. When he struggled in college, I paid for a tutor. When he got married, I gave him money for the down payment on his first apartment. When he said he needed help, I never once said no. And this was how he repaid me, by selling my home behind my back, by calling me incompetent, by treating me like I was already gone. I thought about all the times he'd said, "I love you, Mom," all the Mother's Day cards, all the hugs at the door. Were any of them real? Or was I just a resource to him? A bank account with a heartbeat? I wanted to call him, to scream at him, to demand an explanation. But what would I say? What could he possibly say that would make this okay? There was a knock on the bathroom door. "Diana?" Patty's voice. "Are you all right in there?" I wiped my face, took a breath. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just a little tired." I raised him. I gave him everything. And this is how he repays me, by erasing me from my own life. That evening my phone rang. Meredith. I answered before the second ring. "Mom." Her voice was steadier now, but still quiet. "Did you do it? Did you see?" I saw. My voice came out flat, dead. I saw everything. She exhaled. "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to be right." "How long have you known?" "A few weeks. I found emails on our shared computer between Caleb and that realtor. They've been planning this for months." Months. While he was bringing me flowers and asking about my health, he was planning to steal my home. "There's more," Meredith said. "I didn't want to tell you over the phone, but you need to know. Caleb is in debt. Bad debt. He owes $120,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. What? How? Gambling, online poker, sports betting, and crypto investments that went wrong. He's been hiding it from me, but I found the statements. He's been using credit cards, taking out loans. He's drowning, Mom." I thought about all those times he borrowed money. "Cash flow issues," he said. "Client payments delayed." "He's been taking money from your joint account, too," Meredith continued. $15,000 over the past 6 months. Small withdrawals so you wouldn't notice. $15,000. My emergency fund, my safety net. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "He's your husband." There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice cracked. "Because you're the only real family I've ever had. You treated me like a daughter. I can't let him do this to you." She took a breath. "I'm leaving him, Mom. But before I do, I'm going to help you protect everything you've worked for." I didn't sleep that night either, but this time, it wasn't despair keeping me awake. It was something else, something harder, something that felt like the first spark of a fire. At 6 a.m, I was sitting at Patty's kitchen table with my laptop open, searching Elder Law Attorney Philadelphia. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew I needed help. Professional help. Someone who understood the law, who could tell me what my options were. The first result that came up was a woman named Eleanor Vance. Her website said she specialized in elder financial abuse, estate planning, and protective orders. There was a photo of her, mid-50s, silver-streaked hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Protecting seniors' rights for over 20 years," the tagline read. I called her office the moment it opened at 9. The receptionist must have heard something in my voice because she squeezed me in for an emergency appointment that afternoon. "Can someone come with you?" she asked. "A family member or friend?" "My daughter-in-law," I said. The words felt strange in my mouth. My daughter-in-law, who was helping me fight my own son. I texted Meredith. She responded immediately. "I'll be there. I'll bring everything I have." For the first time since that phone call, I felt something other than despair. I felt the beginning of a plan. I wasn't going to let Caleb take my home. I wasn't going to let him take my dignity. I was going to fight. Eleanor Vance's office was in a converted brownstone in Center City. Warm lighting, comfortable chairs, boxes of tissues strategically placed on every surface. A place designed to make frightened people feel safe. Meredith was already there when I arrived, sitting in the waiting room with a manila folder clutched to her chest. "I printed everything," she whispered. "Emails, bank statements, the listing agreement he signed, it's all here." We were called in together. Eleanor Vance was exactly what her photo suggested. Calm, professional, with an air of quiet competence that immediately put me at ease. "Mrs. Purcell," she said, shaking my hand, "please sit down. Tell me everything." So I did. I told her about Harold's death, the power of attorney, Caleb's visits, Meredith's phone call, the camera footage. I showed her the video on my phone. She watched without expression. When it was over, she nodded slowly. "Unfortunately, this is more common than you'd think. I see cases like this every month. Adult children exploiting their parents' trust." She looked at me with those kind, steady eyes. "The good news is, you have options." She explained the process. First, we would file a revocation of power of attorney, a document that would immediately strip Caleb of any legal authority over my finances. Second, we would apply for a temporary restraining order to keep him away from me and my property. Third, we would notify the realtor that any sale was unauthorized. "The video is strong evidence," she said. "Combined with the bank statements showing unauthorized withdrawals, we have a solid case. If you want to pursue criminal charges for elder financial abuse, that's also an option." Criminal charges against my own son. "Let's start with the civil remedies," I said. "I want to protect myself. I'm not ready to send him to prison." Eleanor nodded. "That's your choice to make. For now, let's focus on securing your assets." "Mrs. Purcell, you are not powerless. The law is on your side. We just need to act fast." The next morning, Meredith and I went to my bank. I'd been banking at First Federal for 32 years. The branch manager, a woman named Sandra, knew me by name. She'd sent flowers when Harold died. "Mrs. Purcell," she smiled when she saw me. "How can I help you today?" "I need statements for my joint account, the past 6 months. And I need to know every withdrawal that wasn't made by me." Her smile faltered slightly, but she led us to her office and pulled up my account on her computer. The numbers confirmed everything Meredith had told me. 5 withdrawals over 6 months, 300 here, 500 there, then 1,000, then 2,000, then 5,000 in a single transaction just 3 weeks ago, $15,000 total. All made by Caleb, using the debit card I'd given him for emergencies. "Did you authorize these withdrawals, Mrs. Purcell?" Sandra asked carefully. "No." My voice was steady, cold. "I did not." She printed the statements, stamped them with the bank's seal, signed as a witness. Official documentation, evidence. Meredith pulled out her folder and added another piece to the pile. An email from Caleb to the realtor, dated 3 weeks ago. "Don't worry about my mother," he'd written. "She trusts me completely. She won't be a problem." I read those words 3 times. She won't be a problem. That's what I was to him. Not his mother, not the woman who raised him. Just a problem to be managed. "There's one more thing," Meredith said quietly. "He keeps a notebook in his desk at home. It has all his gambling debts written down, who he owes, How much? If we need it, I can get it. $15,000, money I saved for emergencies, gone, and he never said a word. That evening, my phone rang. Caleb. I stared at his name on the screen, my heart pounding. Meredith, sitting across from me at Patty's kitchen table, grabbed my arm. "Answer it," she whispered. "Act normal. Don't let him know." I took a breath and picked up. "Hey, Mom!" His voice was bright, cheerful, the voice of a loving son. "How's Florida?" "I'm not in Florida yet," I said carefully. "I'm at Patty's. We're leaving tomorrow." "Oh, right. I forgot you were going early." A pause. "Hey, listen, I stopped by your apartment today to check on things, make sure everything was locked up, but I couldn't find the spare key. Did you move it?" He was testing me, seeing if I knew. "I gave it to the neighbor," I lied. "Mrs. Patterson, she's watering my plants." "Oh." Another pause, longer this time. That's great. Good thinking." Silence stretched between us. I could hear him breathing. "Mom, is everything okay? You sound different." "I'm just tired. Long day." "You sure? You know you can tell me anything, right? I'm your son. I'm always here for you." The words that used to comfort me now made my skin crawl. "I know, Caleb. I have to go. Patty's calling me for dinner." "Okay. Love you, Mom." I couldn't say it back. I just said, "Goodbye," and hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely put the phone down. "He knows something's wrong," Meredith said. "We need to move faster." She was right. The clock was ticking. If Caleb figured out what we were doing before we were ready, everything could fall apart. "You sound different, Mom. Is everything okay? You know you can tell me anything, right?" The mask was slipping, and soon I would tear it off completely. The next day, I met with Eleanor again. This time, we had a plan. "A family meeting," she said. "At your apartment, with witnesses present, you confront him directly, with evidence, so he can't manipulate you one-on-one. Who should be there? People you trust? People who will support you, not him. Your sister, your granddaughter if she's old enough. Meredith, obviously." She paused. "And me. I'll be there with the legal documents ready to serve him." I thought about it. Patty would come. She'd been furious when I finally told her what was happening. Jenna was 19, a sophomore in college, old enough to understand, old enough to see her father for who he really was. "When?" I asked. "Sunday, 3 days from now. You tell Caleb you're coming home early from your trip. You invite him for a family dinner. He won't suspect anything." 3 days. 3 days to prepare for the hardest conversation of my life. What do I say to him? Eleanor looked at me with something like compassion. "You tell him the truth. You show him the evidence. You give him a chance to explain. Though I warn you, people like this rarely take responsibility. Then you hand him the legal papers and tell him to leave." I nodded slowly. "And if he refuses?" "Then we call the police. The restraining order will be filed by then. If he violates it, he'll be arrested." I spent 3 days rehearsing what I would say. But how do you rehearse breaking your own heart? "The goal is not revenge, Mrs. Purcell," Eleanor said as I left her office. "The goal is protection. You confront him with witnesses so he can't manipulate you alone." She was right. This wasn't about revenge. It was about survival. The night before the confrontation, I couldn't sleep. I sat alone in Patty's guest room, a photo album open on my lap. I'd brought it from home weeks ago, meaning to show Patty old pictures. Now I flipped through it with different eyes. Caleb at 5 years old, grinning on his first day of kindergarten. Caleb at 10, holding up a fish he'd caught with his father. Caleb at 18, in his cap and gown, his whole future ahead of him. Where did that boy go? When did he become someone who could look at his own mother and see only dollar signs? I thought about Harold. What would he say if he could see this? He'd be heartbroken. He loved Caleb. We both did. We gave him everything we had. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe we gave too much. Maybe we never taught him that love wasn't something you could withdraw like money from a bank. I closed the album and set it aside. Tomorrow, I would face my son. I would show him the evidence of his betrayal. I would watch his face as he realized he'd been caught. And then I would do the hardest thing I'd ever done. I would choose myself over him. I loved the boy in those photos, but the man who tried to steal my home, I didn't know him at all. I turned off the light and lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, everything would change. I just didn't know if I was strong enough to survive it. If you've been following along and this story is hitting close to home, I want you to know you're not alone. So many people have been through something like this. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support means everything. Now let me tell you what happened when I finally faced my son. Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. My apartment looked the same as always. The same furniture, the same photos on the walls, the same afternoon light streaming through the windows. But nothing felt the same. Patty arrived first. She hugged me tight at the door and whispered, "I'm here. Whatever happens, I'm here." Jenna came next. My granddaughter looked confused, worried. She knew something was wrong, but I hadn't told her the details yet. "Grandma, what's going on? Mom said it was important." "Sit down, sweetheart. You'll understand soon." Meredith arrived alone, her face pale but determined. She nodded at me, a silent confirmation. She was ready. Eleanor Vance was the last to arrive before Caleb. She sat in the corner of the living room, a leather briefcase at her feet, her expression professionally neutral. And then, at 2:15, I heard a key in the lock. The door opened and Caleb walked in. He was smiling, that easy, confident smile I'd known his whole life. He was carrying a bottle of wine, a peace offering, I suppose, for a family dinner. Then he saw the room. His smile faltered. His eyes moved from Patty to Jenna to Meredith to Eleanor. "Mom?" His voice was uncertain now. "What's going on? Why is everyone here?" His gaze landed on Eleanor. "And who is this?" I stood up from my chair. My legs were shaking, but my voice was steady. "Caleb, sit down. There's something we need to discuss." For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my son's eyes. Good. Caleb didn't sit. He stood in the middle of my living room, the bottle of wine still clutched in his hand, his eyes darting from face to face. "Mom, you're scaring me. What is this? Some kind of intervention?" "In a way." I took a breath, steadied myself. "Caleb, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer honestly. Have you been meeting with a realtor about selling this apartment?" The color drained from his face. Just for a second. Then he recovered, forcing a laugh. "What? Mom, that's crazy. Who told you that?" "Answer the question." "I don't know what you're talking about. I would never—" "Caleb." My voice was sharper now, harder, a voice I didn't recognize. "I have video." The room went silent. Caleb's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at Meredith, and something ugly flickered across his face. "You," he said. "You did this." Meredith didn't flinch. "I did what I had to do." "Caleb," I stepped forward. "I have a camera in this apartment. I watched you bring a realtor here. I heard you tell him I was incompetent. I heard you say you had full authority to sell my home. Mom, listen to me. I gave you my trust, Caleb." My voice cracked, but I kept going. "I gave you everything, the power of attorney, access to my bank account, my home, and you used it to try to take everything I have. That's not— I was trying to help." "Help?" I laughed. It sounded bitter, even to me. "You were going to sell my home while I was on vacation. You were going to leave me with nothing. How is that helping?" He had no answer. For once in his life, my son had nothing to say. I walked to the coffee table where my laptop sat waiting. My hands were steady now. The shaking had stopped. Something cold and calm had settled over me. "Sit down, Caleb. Everyone needs to see this." He sat. He had no choice. I pressed play. The video filled the screen. My living room. My front door opening. Caleb walking in with the realtor, gesturing around like a proud homeowner showing off his property. "Recently updated appliances, new refrigerator last year." Patty gasped. Jenna's hand flew to her mouth. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 baths. The master has original hardwood floors." On screen, Caleb smiled at the realtor. "My mother is away for 2 weeks. We need to move before she gets back." "And you have authority to sell?" "Full power of attorney. She signed everything over to me after my father died. She's 68, lives alone, doesn't really understand finances anymore. This is for her own good, honestly." I paused the video. The room was silent except for Jenna's quiet crying. "For my own good," I repeated. "That's what you told him, that I don't understand finances, that I can't take care of myself." Caleb was pale now, sweating. "Mom, you don't understand. I was in trouble. I owed people money, dangerous people. I didn't have a choice." "You had a choice," Meredith said, standing up. "You could have told the truth. You could have asked for help. Instead, you decided to steal from your own mother." She pulled out the folder, the bank statements, the emails. $15,000, she said, laying the papers on the table. "That's how much you took from her account without asking. And here," she held up a printout, "is the email you sent to the realtor. My mother won't be a problem. She trusts me completely." "Oh my God, Caleb!" Patty's voice was shaking. "How could you do this to your own mother?" Jenna just stared at her father, tears streaming down her face, like she was seeing a stranger. Caleb turned on Meredith, his face twisted with rage. "You went through my things? You betrayed me? I'm your husband." Meredith didn't back down. "And she's my family, the only real family I've ever had." She looked at me, her eyes wet, but steady. "Your mother treated me like a daughter from the day we met. She was there when Jenna was born. She was there for every birthday, every holiday, every crisis. She never judged me, never made me feel like an outsider." She turned back to Caleb. You lied to me for years. About the gambling, about the debt, about what you were planning to do to your own mother. I found your notebook, Caleb, the one in your desk. $120,000. That's what you owe." The number hung in the air like a death sentence. "You don't understand," Caleb said, his voice rising. "These aren't people you can just— I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do." "So you decided to destroy your mother's life to save yourself?" "I was going to pay her back. Once the apartment sold, I was going to—" "To what?" I interrupted. "Give me a cut? Let me live in some facility while you took my home, my savings, everything Harold and I worked for?" Caleb's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw the little boy I used to know, the one who cried when his goldfish died, the one who held my hand at his father's funeral. Then his expression hardened again. "You think I wanted to do this? I owe people money. Dangerous people. I had no choice." "You always have a choice," I said quietly. "You just made the wrong one." Eleanor Vance stood up, her briefcase open, a stack of documents in her hands. "Mr. Purcell." Her voice was calm, professional, the voice of someone who had done this many times before. "My name is Eleanor Vance. I'm an attorney specializing in elder law, and I represent your mother." Caleb's eyes widened. "An attorney? Mom, you hired a lawyer against me?" "I hired a lawyer to protect myself," I said. "Something I should have done a long time ago." Eleanor stepped forward, holding out the first document. "This is a revocation of power of attorney, effective immediately. As of this moment, you have no legal authority over your mother's finances, property, or medical decisions." Caleb didn't take the paper. Eleanor set it on the table in front of him. "This," she continued, holding up another document, "is a temporary restraining order. You are prohibited from coming within 100 feet of your mother or this apartment. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest." "You can't do this," Caleb sputtered. "She's my mother. This is my family." "This is her home," Eleanor said firmly, "and you attempted to sell it without her knowledge or consent. Under Pennsylvania law, that constitutes elder financial abuse. It's a criminal offense, Mr. Purcell. Your mother has chosen not to press charges at this time. I suggest you don't give her a reason to change her mind." Caleb looked around the room, at Patty, at Jenna, at Meredith. No one would meet his eyes. "I suggest you leave this apartment immediately," Eleanor said, "and consult with your own legal counsel." He was alone, and he knew it. Caleb fell to his knees. I've seen my son cry before, when his dog died when he was 12, when his father passed, but I'd never seen him like this, desperate, broken, terrified. Mom, please. He reached for my hands, but I stepped back. Please don't do this. I'm your son. I'm your only child. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I can fix it. I'll pay back every cent. I'll go to therapy. I'll get help for the gambling. Please, Mom, please don't throw me away. The tears were real. I knew that. Part of me wanted to kneel down beside him, hold him like I did when he was a little boy, tell him everything would be okay. But I couldn't. Not this time. Caleb. My voice was steady, even though my heart was shattering. I love you. I will always love you. You are my son, and nothing will ever change that. He looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. But I can't trust you anymore. You tried to take my home. You stole from me. You lied to me for months, maybe years. And when you got caught, your first instinct was to blame everyone else. Mom, you have 24 hours to return your key and remove any belongings you have here. After that, if you come near this apartment or contact me without my permission, I will call the police. The hope in his eyes died. You'll regret this, he said, his voice turning cold. You're going to die alone, and it'll be your own fault. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, and walked to the door. I will always be your mother, Caleb, but I will never again be your victim. The door slammed behind him. The silence after the door closed was deafening. Then Patty was there, her arms around me, holding me up as my legs finally gave out. You did it, she whispered. Diana, you did it. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't speak. The tears I'd been holding back finally came, not the quiet tears from before, but great heaving sobs that shook my whole body. Jenna was crying too. She came to me, knelt beside my chair, took my hand. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I had no idea Dad was... She couldn't finish the sentence. I cupped her face in my hands. This isn't your fault, sweetheart. None of this is your fault. Your father made his own choices. I don't know if I can ever forgive him. That's okay. You don't have to decide that today. Meredith stood apart from us, her arms wrapped around herself. When I looked at her, I saw exhaustion, grief, and something else, relief. I stood up, walked to her, and pulled her into a hug. Thank you, I said into her hair. You saved me. You risked everything to save me. You gave me a family, she whispered back. A real family. This was the least I could do. I held her tighter. I'm leaving him, she said. I've already talked to a lawyer. I can't be married to someone who would do this. I know, I'm sorry. Don't be. She pulled back and looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. You showed me what real strength looks like. In losing my son, I found my daughter. The next few days were a blur of paperwork and phone calls. First, the bank. I closed the joint account and opened a new one in my name only. Sandra, the branch manager, handled everything personally. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Mrs. Purcell, she said as she processed the paperwork. If there's anything else we can do, you've done enough. Thank you. Next, the realtor. I called Marcus Webb directly, my voice steady and cold. Mr. Webb, this is Diana Purcell. I believe you met with my son about listing my apartment. There was a long pause. Mrs. Purcell, I had no idea there was any issue. Your son presented valid power of attorney documentation. You assumed wrong. I am the sole owner of this property, and I have no intention of selling. The power of attorney has been revoked. If you contact my son about this apartment again, I will report you to the state licensing board for participating in elder financial abuse. I understand. I'm very sorry for any... I hung up. The locksmith came that afternoon. I watched him change every lock, then tested the new keys myself. 3 sets, one for me, one for Patty, one hidden in a place only I knew. Finally, I had a security company install a proper camera system. 2 cameras outside, 1 inside, motion sensors, alerts sent directly to my phone and to Eleanor's office. For the first time in months, I felt safe in my own home. I stood in my living room that evening, looking at the space I'd almost lost. The furniture Harold and I had picked out together. the photos on the walls, the life I'd built. Still mine. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I knew it was him before I even read it. "You think you won? You think this is over? You're going to die alone in that apartment and nobody will care. Nobody will even notice. You chose strangers over your own son. You'll regret this for the rest of your miserable life." I read the message twice. Then I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Eleanor. Her response came within minutes. "This is harassment. We can use this to strengthen the permanent restraining order. Do not respond. Block the number. Save everything." I did exactly as she said. Another message came an hour later from a different number. "I gave you everything. I was a good son. And this is how you repay me? By siding with my backstabbing wife? You deserve what's coming." Screenshot. Forward. Block. The messages kept coming over the next few days. Different numbers. Same venom. He called me ungrateful, selfish, cruel. He said I'd ruined his life. He said I'd turned his daughter against him. Each message I saved. Each number I blocked. "He's panicking," Eleanor told me. "His world is falling apart, and he's lashing out. This is actually good for our case. It shows a pattern of harassment." His words were meant to hurt me. Instead, they became evidence. I called Patty that night. "If anything happens to me," I said, "you know where the files are. Eleanor has copies of everything." "Nothing is going to happen to you," Patty said firmly. "But yes, I know." I believed her, mostly. We're getting to the final chapters of this story. If you've ever had to cut someone toxic out of your life, even someone you loved, you know how hard it is. But sometimes it's the only way to survive. Hit that like button if this story is resonating with you, and let's see how it all ends. 2 weeks after the confrontation, Meredith filed for divorce. I wasn't surprised. I'd seen it coming from the moment she made that phone call. But it still hurt. Not for Caleb, but for her. For Jenna. For the family that could have been. The divorce papers laid everything bare. The gambling addiction. The secret debts. The attempted theft from his own mother. Meredith's lawyer used it all. The court froze their joint assets pending investigation, Meredith told me over coffee at my kitchen table. Turns out Caleb had been hiding accounts, taking out credit cards in both our names. I didn't know about any of it. "What about Jenna?" "She's staying with me. She doesn't want to see him," Meredith's voice caught. "She told me she doesn't know who her father is anymore, that the man she thought she knew doesn't exist." My heart broke for my granddaughter, 19 years old, and her whole world had shattered. "How is she handling it?" "She's seeing a therapist. It's helping." Meredith paused. "She asked me to tell you something. She said, 'Tell Grandma I love her. Tell her I'm proud of her for being so brave.'" I had to look away so Meredith wouldn't see my tears. A week later, I heard through Patty that Caleb had lost his job. Someone at his company found out about the restraining order. Maybe HR was notified. Maybe word just got around. Either way, he was let go. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired and sad and old. I didn't want him to suffer. I just wanted him to stop hurting people. But some lessons, it seems, have to be learned the hard way. A month after the confrontation, I sat in Eleanor's office again. This time, for a different purpose. "I want to update my will," I said. "I want to remove Caleb entirely." Eleanor nodded. She didn't try to talk me out of it, didn't suggest I reconsider. She just pulled out the necessary forms. "Who would you like to name as beneficiaries?" I'd thought about this for weeks. "Meredith gets the apartment. She's been more of a daughter to me than my own son ever was. And Jenna gets my savings, what's left of them, for her education, her future, whatever she needs." "And Caleb?" "Nothing." The word came out flat, final. "He's taken enough." Eleanor drafted the new will while I sat there. When it was done, I signed my name with a steady hand. "One more thing," I said. "I want to set up a small trust, a donation to the Elder Abuse Prevention Foundation. $5,000. Eleanor smiled. "That's very generous, Mrs. Purcell." "It's not generosity. It's purpose." I looked at her. If my story can help even one person recognize the signs before it's too late, then something good will have come from all this pain. She notarized the documents, made copies, filed everything properly. As I left her office, I felt lighter than I had in months. My son chose money over me, so I chose to give my money to people who chose me. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was simply the truth, written in black and white. The call came on a Tuesday evening, 3 months after I'd last seen my son. I was washing dishes when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom?" His voice was different, quieter. The anger was gone, replaced by something that sounded almost like defeat. "Caleb, don't hang up, please. I need to talk to you." I turned off the water, sat down at the kitchen table. "I'm listening." "I'm in a program, Gamblers Anonymous. I've been going every day for 6 weeks. He paused. "I'm also seeing a therapist, trying to figure out how I became this." I didn't say anything, I just waited. I know I can't take back what I did. I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything. His voice cracked. "I just wanted you to know that I'm trying. I'm trying to be better." Part of me wanted to believe him, the mother in me, the part that remembered holding him as a baby, teaching him to ride a bike, watching him graduate. That part wanted to say, "Come home, let's start over." But I'd learned too much. I'd seen too clearly. "I hope you're telling the truth, Caleb. I hope you really are getting help. I pray for you every single day." "Then can we—" "But I can't let you back into my life. Not now. Maybe not ever." I took a breath. "It's not because I don't love you. I do. I always will. But I have to love myself too. And that means protecting myself from people who hurt me. Even you." Silence on the other end. "If you really change, not in words, but in actions, over years, maybe we can talk again someday. But that's not a promise. It's just a possibility." "Mom." "Goodbye, Caleb." I hung up. And then I cried, alone in my kitchen, for the son I'd lost. Forgiving him was one thing. Trusting him again? That was something he would have to earn. And I wasn't sure he ever could. 6 months after the confrontation, I sat in my living room watching the sunset paint the walls gold. The apartment was quiet, peaceful, mine. Meredith and Jenna had just left after our weekly Sunday dinner. We'd started the tradition a few months ago. Every Sunday they came over, and I cooked. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, Harold's favorite meal. Jenna was doing better. She'd gone back to school, was seeing a therapist, had even started dating a nice boy from her economics class. She still didn't talk to her father, but she'd stopped crying when his name came up. Meredith's divorce was finalized last month. She got the house, primary custody of Jenna, and a fresh start. She'd started going to yoga, joined a book club, even went on a date with a coworker. "Nothing serious," she told me, blushing. "Just coffee." I was happy for her. She deserved happiness. Patty called every day, sometimes twice. We'd finally taken that trip to Florida, 2 weeks of sun, sand, and early bird specials. It was everything we'd planned, and more. I joined a support group for seniors who'd experienced financial abuse. Every Wednesday, I sat in a circle with others who understood, who'd been through similar betrayals. Sometimes I shared my story. Sometimes I just listened. It helped. More than I expected. I looked around my living room, at the photos on the walls, the furniture Harold and I had chosen together, the ceramic vase Jenna made me in middle school. Still here, still mine, still home. My home was still mine. My dignity was still mine. And for the first time in a long time, my peace was mine too. The final hearing was on a gray November morning. I sat in the courtroom with Eleanor beside me, Meredith and Patty in the row behind. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed the case file while we waited. Caleb didn't show up. His lawyer submitted a statement saying he wouldn't contest the permanent restraining order. "Small mercy," Eleanor murmured. "At least you won't have to face him." The judge looked up from her papers. "Mrs. Purcell, I've reviewed the evidence in this case, the video footage, the bank statements, the pattern of harassment via text message." She paused. This is a textbook case of elder financial abuse. Your son attempted to sell your home without your knowledge or consent, stole $15,000 from your bank account, and engaged in a sustained campaign of intimidation after being confronted. I nodded. Hearing it laid out so clinically made it feel both more and less real. Based on the evidence presented, I am granting a permanent restraining order. Mr. Caleb Purcell is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of you or your residence, from contacting you by any means, and from accessing any of your financial accounts or property. This order has no expiration date and will remain in effect until such time as you petition the court to have it lifted. She looked at me over her glasses. Mrs. Purcell, I want you to know that what you did took tremendous courage. Many victims of elder abuse never come forward, never fight back. You did. You should be proud of yourself. Thank you, Your Honor. The gavel came down. Outside the courthouse, I stood on the steps and breathed in the cold November air. Eleanor shook my hand. Patty hugged me. Meredith wiped away tears. It's over, Patty said. It's finally over. I looked up at the gray sky and thought about Harold, about the life we'd built, about the son we'd raised, and the man he'd become. The judge's gavel came down, and with it, the last thread connecting me to the son I thought I knew. It was over. But somehow it also felt like a beginning. A week after the hearing, I stood in front of my support group. 12 faces looked back at me. Some I knew well by now. Margaret, whose daughter had stolen her retirement fund. Robert, whose nephew had forged his signature on property documents. Helen, whose own husband had been slowly draining their accounts for years. Others were new. A woman in the back, maybe 70, clutching her purse like a lifeline. A man in the front row, eyes red from crying. People who were just starting the journey I'd nearly finished. My name is Diana, I began, and 6 months ago I discovered that my son was trying to sell my home behind my back. I told them everything. The phone call from Meredith, the hidden camera, the video that shattered my world, the confrontation, the restraining order, the long months of healing. When I finished, the room was silent. Then Margaret started clapping. One by one, the others joined in. I used to think that love meant never saying no, I said, when the applause died down. I thought that family meant sacrifice, that being a good mother meant giving everything, even when it hurt, even when it destroyed me. I looked at the new woman in the back. She was crying silently. But I learned something these past months. Love isn't just about giving. It's also about protecting yourself, protecting your dignity, protecting your right to say, this is mine and you cannot take it. I took a breath. If someone in your family is hurting you, whether it's your child, your spouse, your sibling, anyone, you have the right to say no. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to set boundaries, even if it breaks your heart to do it. After the meeting, the new woman approached me. Her name was Dorothy. Her son had been pressuring her to sign over her house. "Thank you," she whispered. "You gave me the courage to call a lawyer." I squeezed her hand. Blood makes you related. Respect makes you family. And I finally understood the difference. Christmas Eve. My apartment smelled like cinnamon and roasting turkey. Patty was in the kitchen, arguing with Meredith about the proper way to make gravy. Jenna was on the couch, showing me photos from her semester abroad. She'd spent the fall in London, her first time out of the country. "And this is Big Ben, Grandma. And this is me at the Tower of London. And this—" She swiped to a photo of herself with a handsome young man. "This is Thomas. He's my boyfriend." "He's very handsome," I said, smiling. "When do I get to meet him? Maybe spring break, if that's okay?" "It's more than okay." Dinner was perfect. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green beans, cranberry sauce from a can, because that's how Harold always liked it. We ate too much, laughed too loud, told stories about Christmases past. After dinner, Meredith found me in the kitchen, washing dishes. "Let me help," she said, picking up a towel. We worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Meredith spoke. "Mom, I want you to know something. This past year has been the hardest of my life. Leaving Caleb, the divorce, watching Jenna struggle." She paused. "But it's also been the best, because I finally feel like I have a real family, a family that loves me for who I am, not what I can give them. I set down the dish I was washing and turned to face her. You've always been my daughter, Meredith. From the day you married Caleb, I loved you. Not because you were his wife, but because of who you are. She hugged me then, tight and fierce, the way Jenna used to hug me when she was little. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. From the living room, I heard Jenna laugh at something Patty said. The sound filled my apartment, filled my heart. Family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who shows up when you need them. And finally, I had a family who showed up. New Year's Eve, almost midnight. Everyone had gone home. Patty back to Bryn Mawr, Meredith and Jenna to their apartment across town. The dishes were done, the leftovers put away, the apartment quiet. I sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker in the darkness. In a few minutes, fireworks would explode over the Delaware River. A new year would begin. On the bookshelf beside me, the little camera clock still sat where I'd placed it all those months ago. I'd thought about getting rid of it, but something made me keep it. A reminder, a talisman, proof that I'd survived. I thought about the year behind me, the worst year of my life, in many ways, the year I discovered my son's betrayal, the year I lost the child I thought I knew, but also the year I found my strength, the year I learned to say no, the year I discovered that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. I thought about Caleb. I wondered where he was tonight, if he was alone, if he was getting better, like he said. I hoped so. Despite everything, I hoped so. But I couldn't save him. I'd learned that the hard way. The only person I could save was myself. Outside, the first fireworks burst across the sky, red, gold, silver, blue. I touched the photo of Harold on the bookshelf. I did it, I whispered. I kept our home. I kept myself. The clock struck midnight. A new year, a new beginning. I am 68 years old. I am a widow, a retired teacher, a mother, and a grandmother. I have been betrayed by my own blood, but I am still standing. And this home, this life, is mine. No one will ever take that from me again. I watched the fireworks paint the sky, and for the first time in a very long time, I felt at peace. Not happy exactly, but whole. And that was enough. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this story. I know it was a long one, and I know it was heavy, but I hope it meant something to you. If you've ever had to set boundaries with someone you loved, if you've ever had to choose yourself over someone who was hurting you, I want you to know you're not alone and you're not wrong. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones we need protection from. That's not your fault. And walking away or pushing them away doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a survivor. If this story helped you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about strength, survival, and finding your voice. And leave a comment below. Tell me your story if you're comfortable. I read every single one. Remember, you deserve to be safe. You deserve to be respected, and you have every right to say no, even to family. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.